从今以后10000年，你们都记住这个名字。我是齐天大圣孙悟空。
Hey, what is going on, all my fellow godlies and Warframe enthusiasts around the world? Back by popular demand, it's me, Vance, from the Warframe God Build series. And I've got yet another frame to introduce into the ReForged series, thanks to you, in part of the votes that you guys almost unanimously chose Wukong. So let's skip straight into this build, shall we? Now, not a whole lot has changed except for the fact that we're using Rage and Hunter Adrenaline, which is going to boost us up to like an 85% conversion of damage into our health into energy. That's going to be super helpful for in those instances that we have Defy activated and we have our ultimate going. We have Gladiator Resolve, Gladiator Aegis, Prime Flow, Prime Continuity, Streamline, Fleeting Expertise, Coaction Drift, and Rejuvenation. Coaction Drift is paired with Rejuvenation here in the event that we can just sit still and regenerate our health over time. It's going to be pretty helpful, but it's only for instances in which you're out roaming around in the plains of Eidolon because you're getting from one objective to the other. If you want to use something like an energy siphon or anything else that you view as beneficial, those are the mods that I would suggest swapping out if you do so. However, the Gladiator set is here. Not all of the set, it's just the 75% critical chance stacks with combo multiplier. That's going to help out our melee on top of giving us that added perk of having the armor and health without having to put vitality or steel fiber into this build. For primary weapons, I'm going to focus on Lens, and it's probably to do with the fact that Lens can self-damage you and Wukong can defy death. So you avoid one-shot downing yourself if you manage to get caught in the bubble. And I would note that at some point I was also using the Arcane Exodia Contagion, which also was something that wasn't a big issue because I could avoid going down. However, I've swapped that out. I'm no longer using Exodia Contagion. Instead, I've got this build for Lens, and I can guarantee you it does really good damage. I recently did an experiment with this. The whole internet thought that I was trolling because I had the AI turned off. What I can tell you about this combination is that it still needs corrosive. The world seems to think that you can take off your corrosive combination and get away with Hunter munitions. Sure, you can do that, but it decreases your DPS by a significant amount. You still need the corrosive elemental combination, and you could benefit from the Hunter munitions as well. For secondaries, I've already featured this in the Gara God build, but I'll go ahead and show it to you again anyways. Sicarus Prime has been buffed, and it's just tremendously useful now. I definitely recommend it for the plains of Eidolon. I recommend it anywhere because it's a great weapon now that they buffed it. I have to give credit where credit is due to DE. They're doing a wonderful job making weapons actually worth it. They're adding, polarity slots by default to newer weapons, which makes it easier for us to forma. That's something that's been needed to be done for a long time, so good stuff all around the board here. And finally, we move along to the star of the show, which is the power pole. I'm not necessarily sure of the components that were used for this weapon. I know that it has to do with the infested handle for bows, and then on top of that you've got the conch, and then you've got the rings that attach here. I never pay attention to the construction of the Zaws. I just kind of look at the stats and see if they pan out. I'm not necessarily sure if I went for crit, but I am sure that when I'm building Zaws, I try to cancel out the negative attributes with the positives. So you could manage to build something yourself which is very similar in damage, and then roll with a build similar to this, which consists of Gladiator Vice, Pressure Point, Prime Fury, Blood Rush, Gladiator Rush, Healing Return, Gladiator Might, and Shattering Impact. Shattering Impact is present here because we're primarily doing impact damage, which will degrade their armor over time. And you might think to yourself, well, why wouldn't you just use Corrosive? Why would we use Corrosive if Corrosive is going to do in 2 mods what this is going to do in 1? And sure, this might take a lot more time to kill your enemies, but we're using Wukong. He can't die. If you're playing him right, he just can't die, so you can afford the extra time to bash your enemies' heads in, restore some health, and get your combo multiplier up so that you do a tremendous amount of damage. My power pole contains the opposite Exodia, which is the Exodia Epidemic. After a bullet jump or a double jump, when you slam the ground, it emits a shockwave that erupts forward and suspends enemies in the air for a short period of time. The suspended animation is similar to Titania's first ability. It has that little glowing feature about it, but it really behaves like a Rhino Stomp. And it's helpful for groups because you can slam the ground and it will erupt forward and hit anything in its path. What that does is it helps you not get shot in the event that maybe you're running out of energy, whatever. I don't feel it necessary to get it up to rank 4 because all it does is increase the amount of time in which they're hung, and you don't really need to upgrade the Epidemic in order for this to be effective. You only need a momentarily reprieval from the battle. So it's up to you whether you want to go the distance and rank this all the way up. I don't think that it's necessary personally. The only thing I've yet to cover in this loadout so far is our Sentinel choice, and I'm choosing Carrier Prime specifically because my lens is only good for 6 shots before it's out of ammo, so it's really nice to have Carrier around to convert some of your ammo. For the build, it's not anything special. It's the typical setup that I have for any Sentinel. Same goes for the weapon. Like I've said before in previous build videos, I don't use a shotgun weapon with my Sentinel if I have a shotgun for the rest of my loadout, and I don't use a rifle weapon on my Sentinel if I'm carrying a rifle in my loadout. So this is why I've chosen what I've chosen. Carrier Prime, like I said, it's just there to fuel my lens. Everything kind of complements itself here in this loadout, and that's what's magical about building with Wukong, is the fact that you can make a loadout that's so dependent upon itself that it becomes self-sufficient and you no longer need a team. But the same could be said about Wukong in general. If you're playing with Wukong, you usually don't need a team at all. And this is a really good solo frame, definitely one of my favorites, which is why I have an entire loadout dedicated to him. So if you liked, enjoyed, and learned something from this video, do as I always encourage you to do: like, share, subscribe, and until next time, this has been Vance, signing out. Peace.